What is up, Dreamedia family? This is Zach. Welcome back to another episode. On today's episode, we are going to be checking out side by side the Marantz Cinema 60, 50, and the flagship 40 AVRs from the Marantz Cinema line. I'm really excited to go over all of the differences with you guys. If you would like to purchase, make sure to reach out and show your support or shopdreamedia.com, where we ship nationwide. And if you need help on really analyzing exactly which model is right for you, don't fear. We have our specialist on standby waiting to FaceTime and Zoom with you and do a free video consultation, walk through your entire space and tailor a package that fits your exact needs and budget. All right, guys, well, let's get into this comparison. All right, welcome back, Dreamedia family. So today we're going to be reviewing the specs and really taking a close look at the front panels, the back panels of all three of the Marantz Cinema series lines. We also carry the Marantz Cinema 70, which is a really slim line amplifier, low wattage output, but still a great model for a lot of circumstances. But the Marantz Cinema 60, 50, and 40 are going to be some of our best sellers, so I really wanted to take a deep dive. And for my audiophiles and guys that are running very sophisticated systems, I've also done videos on the AMP10 and the AV10, which is the flagship reference level separates that Marantz had just come out with. Those things are bad, but these units here are all in one, so it's a great solution for many people around the country. Let's go ahead and start off with the overall specifications. So all of these units do include the brand new HDMI connections for HDMI 2.1 as well as HDMI DHCP 2.3. The Marantz Cinema 60 is a 7.2 channel AVR. Now when you go up to the Marantz Cinema 50, you're getting a big performance jump, and this is kind of the sweet spot in the lineup because it's a 9.4. 4 independent subcontrols, and that's huge because there's a pretty big price hike going up to the Marantz Cinema 40, and that's also just a 9.4. But the Cinema 40 is actually tuned by the Marantz Soundmasters, so it has a better transformer in it and better circuitry. In addition to the Marantz Cinema 40 and 50 both being a 9.4 channel AVR, meaning it has 9 channels of amplification and 4 outs for the subs, pre-outs, it has 11 channels of processing built in and the 4 outs. So you could technically do an 11.4, say for Dolby Atmos configurations, you could do like a 5.4.6 Atmos system, which is pretty complex, or say a 7.4.4 Dolby Atmos system. Those are going to be a couple of our most common applications. Now, with the Marantz Cinema 60, you only have the ability to do like a 5.2.2 Atmos system as an example, or you could power up like a 5.1 in the living room and power up your zone 2 for say the kitchen or patio. Now when you go up to the Marantz Cinema 50, you're getting more power and you still only have one zone 2. Now the big benefit of going up to the Marantz Cinema 40 is you have even more power, 125 watts a channel versus 110 watts per channel with the Cinema 50, and the Cinema 40 has the ability for 2 zone outs, so zone 2 and zone 3, making it definitely worth the upgrade. Another big thing that I like about the Marantz Cinema 40 is it does have that backlit LED kit on it that illuminates the front panel, giving it a beautiful appearance if you're gonna put it out in the open and make it a statement piece. All right, so that's the overview and different ways that you could potentially use the system. Again, reach out and speak with our specialist. We ship throughout the entire country and have preferred installers in 28 different states, so we can talk about the different ways that you could utilize these systems in detail, and also recommend speakers to go with it, as well as projectors and screens and cables and everything else that you need. But next I'm going to take you up close and personal with all three of these units side by side and go over all of the features built into the front and the back of the units. Let's go. All right, guys, so I got all three units right here, and I thought, what better time than now to go ahead and check them all out side by side. So looking at the front panel, we're gonna run through exactly what buttons are here and what features are available. Let's get into it. So looking at the left-hand side of the units, all of them have this beautiful brushed new interface that is new this year for the Cinema line. Absolutely stunning. But one thing to note is the Cinema 40, when plugged in, actually has a back backlit LED right here behind the panel that fires on to this brushed new front faceplate and illuminates it. So whenever it's dark, it looks really stunning and kind of a statement piece in the room. If you're looking at even higher end components, the AV10 and the AMP10 both have that backlit illumination on their displays as well. Moving over to the right hand side, all of them have their phono inputs, and then they're all classically matched with this iconic Marantz porthole that they've had for decades. So this is just going to display simple things like your source, and really that's about it. You have your rotary style knobs here for your input as well as your volume control, and then right here on the front of the 60 you have all of your buttons on display, whereas the 50 and the 40, they're hidden away behind these drop down panels. So let's go ahead and get into the differences between them. So on the 60 you have pure direct DMAX zone 2 source, and your tuner, dimmer, status, sound mode, and your USB. And on the Cinema 50 it's almost identical, it's just hidden behind this little drop down panel here. You have pure direct DMAX zone 2 source, your tuner, dimmer, status, sound mode, as well as the setup mic and the USB. I did forget to mention the setup mic, but you guys can see that here. Now whenever you go down to the Marantz Cinema 40, you get some serious upgrades. I love this display that they put in there. I've mentioned it on past videos because it gives you the ability to control the internal setup menu right here on the screen. Whereas if you have these other units in say a rack and your display is across the house, it can make it very difficult to do the setup. And what I do in those circumstances is get it on the network and then control the AVR over the application, or I set it up with the control system. That way I can control the AVR with the universal remote. But for the average consumer, your option is going to be getting it on the network with a display and then going and installing it into the rack and then setting it up through the application where you can navigate the menu. Not a huge deal, but for maximum efficiency and making changes quickly on the fly, it is super nice having this display in place. So they have this whole section here that's not on the 50 and 60 for info, back, options, setup, cursors left, right, up, down, and enter. Now, in addition to that, when you go up to the 40, you get the ability for zone 2 and zone 3 versus just zone 2 on these other units. So you got pure direct DMAX status dimmer, but then you have zone 2 on and off in source, as well as zone 3 on and off in source. So that's kind of a rundown of the front panel. Now I'm gonna flip these around and let's check out the backside. Now guys, I'm just setting these up like this so that you can easily compare them. Do not stack your units on top of each other. The units can't breathe and they can overheat. You always want a gap. Even if you're doing a rack, you want to put in like a 1U or 2U space just so they can breathe. It'll make sure the units last as long as possible. Now the Marantz Cinema line does come with a 5-year manufacturer warranty, so you don't have to worry too much, but you do want your equipment to last as long as possible. Also, right off the bat, before we go into the back panel, I do want to mention the depth difference between all these units. So I'm going to give you a side angle shot so that you can see the depth difference. So you're looking at about 16.5 inches for the Cinema 40, about 16 inches from the front knobs to the back terminals for the Cinema 50, and you're looking at about 14 inches for the Cinema 60. The reason that I'm mentioning this, guys, is because you want to take into account what AV cabinet or rack you're putting it into to make sure that you have sufficient space inside of the cabinet for not only the depth of the unit, but also all of your connections. So I always say to account for a minimum of another 1 to 2 inches for your HDMI cables, your analog out ports, and all your speaker banana plugs if you decide to do banana plugs. Now I do want to mention that we have a couple banana plug options available. We have these beautiful ones from Planet Wave, as well as we have these speaker snap quick, super easy banana plugs. Head over to our website, shopdreamedia.com, to check these out. These are freaking really cool and make install quick. I'd like to point out that we also sell the HDMI cables that you need, full 8K, HDMI 2.1, DHCP 2.3, as well as analog connections. We're using V-Locks right now. These are like super high quality and pretty affordable. Make sure to head over to our website and check those out. But these HDMIs do up to 48 gigabits per second, really high quality stuff. And if you're not running a video display, check these ones out. These are still 4K, but they just do 24 gigabit per second, eARC, grip tech, all that good stuff, 4K HDR, but they're a little bit more, even more affordable if you don't have an 8K display. All right, so let's go ahead and take a deep dive into this back panel. Starting at the top, all of them have Bluetooth and Wi-Fi antennas. So if you can't hardwire, which we always recommend hardwiring in over the network, then you can always connect over the Wi-Fi. We have two digital audio coaxial and optical audio ins on all units. We have the network connection on all units. We have HDMI inputs on all units, but there's definitely some big differences here. So let's talk through that. Looking on the Cinema 60, you actually get a total of 3 8K ports that are DHCP 2.3, and then you get 3 4K ports in addition to those 3 8K ports. So this is for customers that aren't going all out, or maybe they're in a transition phase, because 8K is still really new. So this is great that they have some of the ports that have that ability, but still keeping the cost down on the unit to where people that don't have all 8K sources, they don't necessarily need the AVR with like the Cinema 50 that does have all 8K ports. Now, if you kind of wanted a little more future-proof to where you don't have to worry about it for a few years, then you may want to consider the 50 or 60, because every single port on the inputs are 8K, HDMI 2.1, DHCP 2.3. We have a total of 3 8K and 3 4K ports, a total of 6 HDMI ins on the 60. When you go down to the 50, you have 6, but they're all 8K ports, DHCP 2.3. And then when you go down here to the Cinema 40, you have a total of 7 8K ports. Now, the HDMI outs, there's some big differences here, so let's talk about it. On the monitor 1 out on all units, you do have an 8K full HDMI 2.1 output, and they do support ARC as well as eARC. This is the audio return channel that delivers the audio through the HDMI cable from, say, your smart TV back to the receiver, so that you can then play your Dolby Atmos audio through your surround sound system. This is really important, but you need to make sure that your source does have eARC capabilities. Now let's look at monitor 2. Now we do have monitor 2 output on all units. And then if you look at our zone 2 out, we don't have that option available on the Cinema 60, but the Cinema 50 as well as the Cinema 40 both do have a zone 2 4K port. It's important to notate that that is only 4K. This is really valuable because you can utilize this for multiple monitors, or say you have a living room set up and you want to output that to your patio. That's a really popular one. Or say you got a theater room and you also want to send that to the waiting room, or say the pool table room or the bar area out in the lobby. You can have a TV out there and just output that same signal, what's playing in the theater room, to that other display. Now with the zone 2 4K output, you can do that monitor out, which will display the same thing, but you can also select a separate source to play on the Cinema 50 and 60 with that zone 2 4K output. So there's a lot of different variances and different ways you can configure this. So that's another reason you may want to reach out to the specialist and talk through your exact situation, because there are a lot of things to consider. And what we'll do is we'll FaceTime and Zoom with you and walk through your space, and then we'll tailor a package to maximize that performance and budget so that you're not overspending in certain areas or underspending in others. We'll get you a really nice, well-balanced system. So now let's look at our control options. We have DC out, RS-232, flasher, and remote control in and out. That's pretty much the same on the 60 to the 50. Now the 40 does have additional DC outs down here. All 3 units have your old school AM and FM antenna connections. Next, let's check out our analog inputs. We have 4 assignable audio inputs for the Cinema 60, and we have a total of 5 assignable analog inputs for the Cinema 50, and then when we go to the 40, we still have 5. All units also have the phono connection for analog audio in. Now our pre-outs, we have zone 2 on the Cinema 60 and the Cinema 50, and when you go down to the Cinema 40, we have zone 2 and zone 3 in and out. Now here's another important thing. When you move into your pre-outs, it aligns with what I discussed earlier, which is the number of subwoofers that you can run with the system, which is really important, guys, because there's a big upgrade by going to the 50 and 60 if you're gonna run a bunch of subwoofers. This is huge for this year. Previously, unless you were going with a really high-end unit like a Trinov or Audio Control, you couldn't run this number of subwoofers. And there is gonna be a Dirac Live update coming this year, and I'll make videos on that for you, showing you how to run the Dirac Live update. Now, when you look at the subwoofer connections, you get a big upgrade going to the Cinema 50 and 40. You get a total of 4 subwoofer pre-outs versus just the 2 on the Cinema 60. Next, let's check out our speaker terminals. So it lines right up with the number of amplifiers that are built into the unit. So you have a 7-channel amp here and you have a 9-channel amp here. Now with the Cinema 40 and 50, you have the ability to do processing at 11.4, even though it only has a 9-channel amp. And you would need an external amplifier, at least a 2-channel amp, in order to do that, which I did make a separate video on showing you how to make the connections between this and an Audio Control Pantages G4 with the analog audio outputs, and how to walk through the configuration and the settings on that. So be sure to check out that video. But with the Cinema 60, you are restricted to just the 7.2, which isn't a bad thing. It's just specifically built for a particular circumstance. All right, Dreamedia family, that is a wrap on my walkthrough of the Cinema 60, the Cinema 50, and the flagship Cinema 40. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video and found it informative and helping you make a buying decision. If you would like to purchase, reach out and show your support. You can either go to our website at shopdreamedia.com, or you can reach out for a free video consultation with one of my specialists, where we'll do a walkthrough of your space and we can tailor a package to fit your exact needs and budget. Yeah, we sell receivers here, but we do the full deal, guys. Whether you need projectors, screen, speakers, amps, cables, or anything in between, we have you covered, and we ship nationwide with preferred installers in 28 different states at this time. If you like this video, give me a big thumbs up and make sure to smash that subscribe button down below for more. Till next time, this is Zach with Dreamedia Home Theater. Thank you for watching.